Hi everyone, I'm Nidhi and welcome to Hangouts on Air with Creatively Unsettled. Creatively Unsettled is a platform for ideas, insights, and storytelling for new ways social entrepreneurship. Moving ahead from our last hangout on drivers of social change, today we have with us Ullas Mara, head of sourcing and inspiration at Villgro Innovations Foundation. Please join me in welcoming our guest. Hi, Ullas.
Hi, thank you so much for the welcome.
Thank you for joining us on this hangout. So, Ullas, can you just tell me about your role at Villgro? It's pretty different, when I saw that you're a head of sourcing and inspiration at Villgro. What is it that you do?
It's not very complicated. It's not half as complicated as it sounds. Essentially, what I do is I create local social entrepreneurship ecosystems in various cities across India. And I meet early stage social entrepreneurs and try to connect them with relevant stakeholders. And even from a Villgro perspective, my role is to scout and discover entrepreneurs who we could potentially incubate.
Okay. So, what are the parameters or the softer aspects that you look at while choosing or while looking out for entrepreneurs for your program?
There are multiple. So, first is we are an incubator. So, in that sense, we want a solid team, right? If is the team does the team come with the right set of credentials, right? It's not, and credentials, by the way, don't mean what's on the CV, right? We're not talking only about qualifications. There could be an entrepreneur who is extremely driven, extremely motivated, has the relevant experience, but might not have the same kind of IIT, IIM qualifications that many others have. So yeah, the team matters a lot, and how much work has already gone in, right? What is the level of homework they have done? Is it just an idea on a piece of paper, or have they actually spent enough time? We have this beautiful word for that, which we call immersion, right? The level of immersion pretty much dictates their understanding of the problem and the solution that they've created. It can't be creation of a solution and then retrofitting it to a problem, right? We also look at how mentorable an entrepreneur is. Could be super talented, could have a great solution, but if the entrepreneur is not mentorable, then incubation is not for them in general. Not about will grow. It's going to be a problem with any incubator at all. So there are, yeah, these are some of the things that we look at. We look at, as I said, the team, what level of immersion there is the idea going to scale? So yeah, and what is the potential for IP, and how much can, I mean, to what extent can that idea be protected, right? Those are all factors that go into making that decision.
So, when you look at the change or the impact aspect of any entrepreneur that comes to you, what are the parameters or what are the conditions on which you decide? Okay, this is a scalable idea. This is this can do well. So, how do you decide that? What are the
So
parameters of impact that you actually look at?
yeah, so as far as impact is concerned, there is no one set of parameters that we are talking about, right? If you look at health innovation, you're essentially looking at how many more people get a particular scan or get access to a certain kind of health service, right? Um, in case of agri, you're looking at how many farmers get access to a certain innovation. What is the level of income that is increased, right, because of a certain solution. In education, you're talking about how many more enrollments are happening. What is the kind of quality assessment that's happening? So every enterprise essentially has a separate set of impact parameters. There aren't five or six. People keep talking about lives touched, and that's a beautiful metric. But the only problem there is that the stage at which we support enterprises, that's very early stage. It's too early to show millions and even lakhs of numbers as lives touched. So we work with each incubator once we bring them on board, and then we spend a lot of time to devise metrics that would be relevant for that enterprise, be it their business success or their impact metrics.
Okay. Okay. So when you talk about impact investment in this case, so what according to you are the major sources of impact investment in India right now?
So see, impact investment itself is on an upswing right now. So if my numbers are correct, we are looking at least $1 billion being invested by impact investors every year, and we're looking at that number going up significantly over the next 8 to 9 years. So there are obviously these impact investors who are there who make equity investments. Then, of course, there are under Schedule 7 of the Companies Act. Now, CSRs can make contributions to government recognized, government approved technology business incubators. So there's that. And then there are foundations who are looking to support specific projects for an enterprise. So if an enterprise wants to make to run a specific pilot in a specific geography, there are foundations who are willing to fund that. So the funding avenues are there. I mean, at various stages. When you're looking at incubation funding, there's funding. There's funding available to run pilots and for specific purposes. There is structured equity investment that can be raised. So yeah, there are multiple avenues as far as impact investment is concerned.
So what I meant to ask is what, according to the major sources of impact investment, and where is all this money coming from? I mean, recently I read an article on NDTV that said, there is India is at a very sweet spot in terms of impact investment and social entrepreneurship. Up
Hmm.
to US dollars 4 billion of impact investment will be raised in the next, 10-15 years.
Sure.
So, what would be your comment on that?
I would think that's a conservative number. If you're looking at a 10-year period, 4 billion would be a conservative number. But um, see, there are many foundations who are supporting very specific areas, right? So there's a Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, for example. They have an active interest in education, right? So there are those, and then there's the government which is coming into the investment space. Except uh, they they are giving money to other incubators and saying that you deploy this, right? Is that so? Between them, there is a huge pot of money that's available, right? And then there are HNIs who are forming clusters of angel investors, right? There are a lot of there's one there are NRIs who are forming clusters of investors, and they're launching a fund. So there are multiple sources here, and as far as funding is concerned, I would strongly debate if someone said that funding is a big challenge for social entrepreneurs in India. I don't think funding is that big a challenge. Uh, of course, the idea has to merit that kind of funding.
Okay. So what is the type of what is the mentorship model that is followed at Villgro? How what all do you do in terms of mentoring an entrepreneur that comes to you?
Um, so our mentoring is very intensive. Uh, we don't necessarily believe in having a mentor who's doing this pro bono. We have a structured mentorship program where each of our mentors is paid an honorarium, and that comes with a set expectation that they'll spend up to 4 to 6 hours with their incubatee every week. And this makes a huge difference because essentially you're looking at a mentor who's willing to get their hands dirty along with the entrepreneur. So you need at times that's what an entrepreneur needs. They need a 3 a.m. friend, right? Uh, so that's how we have structured it, and this could be in different capacities. It could be a mentor who is advising them on overall aspects of running the enterprise, or as the need dictates, it could be a sector expert who could engage with them for a certain amount of time, helping them navigate certain things. So yeah.
Okay. So if an entrepreneur, had to, say approach Villgro for a mentorship program, so what would he or she will have to, pay special attention to? How should he or she prepare himself for this?
So as I said earlier, so it's not a specific, it's not a separate mentorship program as opposed to a funding program. No, it comes as one package. The incubation package has funding and mentoring both. Now, if an entrepreneur is coming to us, first thing is that we want to see what effort has already gone in. We want to see that they're committed to it full time, right? We want to see that it is not something that's completely based on secondary data, right? They should have gone, lived with the beneficiaries, understood their behaviors, and the solution should have a market, and they should be able to demonstrate that the solution has a market, and we'll know. Uh, we'll be able to tell very easily whether they have actually spent time, whether they have actually uh, you know derived these insights by being there or through internet research, right? So yeah, that makes a huge difference. That's all we ask for, because see, people think they need a perfect business plan, which is not true. There may be certain gaps in the business model which we are here to address, right? But we want to see the effort, we want to see the commitment. As long as that's there, I think we are happy to have a conversation with an entrepreneur.
Great. So just moving a little apart from our ongoing topic, I want to ask you about sustainable development goals that have been put forth by United Nations,
Hmm.
and uh, as per your knowledge and observation, how do you think India is proceeding towards achieving these goals?
See, it's a difficult question to answer because we seem to be doing a lot, right? There are lots of measures in place, but to really tell how much, what the results are going to be, we'll have to wait it out a bit. All the right noises are being made. In fact, you'd be surprised there are specific accelerators coming up just to address the sustainable development goals. But it's a long game. It's going to take a lot of time. The rot in our system runs very deep. So to address these things, we'll have to wait and see what results come up.
So, do you think recognizing social entrepreneurship as a separate sector, the way manufacturing, automobile is being recognized, do you think that is necessary for this?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch a question. There was a network disturbance.
So,
Recognizing?
yeah, let me just repeat the question. So, do you think in order to achieve the sustainable development goals, social entrepreneurship as a sector should it be recognized, and how should they go about it?
Yeah, so social entrepreneurship has certain challenges that come with it. You're looking to monetize a certain segment which is harder to monetize. So yes, it should get special recognition. But at the same time, let's not get carried away. Let entrepreneurs need to realize that if you look at the companies that we are incubating, they are creating impact, right? They are creating impact for a certain segment of the society. But if you take that aspect out, they're still a healthcare company. They're still an agriculture company, right? So I think instead of really expecting a whole bunch of incentives just because you're a social enterprise, I think the focus still should remain on treating this as an enterprise. You need to make money. You need to make this enterprise successful. I think the other day at a panel discussion, I heard an investor say that just because you're a social enterprise, you can't expect to keep getting grant money in year five of your operations. So
Right.
I think that's very important for business for entrepreneurs to know that they're still running a business.
Great. So just one last question. When it comes to social entrepreneurship, I mean, as a sector, we just discussed that it is pretty much in boom right now, and it's an emerging market in India. So, should students and fresh graduates, how should they be conditioned to uh, accept social entrepreneurship also as a career option? Because right now they're just looking at a few options, like maybe software or whatever, but so when it comes to social entrepreneurship they think that it's charity. So how can this mindset be changed among students? Because we need entrepreneurs from a very good of a very good pedigree, of a very very good education background as well. So how do you think we can go about this?
I think it's a two-pronged challenge. One aspect is already being addressed by a lot of institutes. They're doing a lot of programs on entrepreneurship in general. Right? The other aspect is they need to be exposed to these problems at the right age, right? Uh, a lot of ideas, a lot of inspiration stem from there. So there's Jagriti Yatra, there's Teach for India Fellowship, there's Young India Fellowship. All these are critical aspects, and I would say that we can't have enough of these fellowships and exposure programs because they spawn a whole generation of social entrepreneurs. So I think we need more of those, and that will over a period of time help move that needle.
Thank you, Ulas, for your time.
Sure,
Guys, keep looking out for the blog and the hangout on our platform. See you
sure.
then.
See you
Bye.
then. Thanks.